Welcome back to the channel. It's so glad to see you. I'm glad to have you. Pull up a chair, have a seat. Let's talk about the next piece for our carving journey. We are still carving a chess set and we're carving a rook. And to do a rook, we're doing dragons. We're doing little dragons. Of course we're doing dragons. How could we not do dragons if we're doing a fantasy themed chess set? It was always going to be dragons. It was never not going to be dragons. Every single time I thought about this, I thought it's going to be a dragon. How are we going to do a dragon for this? Well, it's going to be just like a knight, except it's a dragon. Except it's a dragon. So we're going to carve dragons today. And I love carving dragons. Ever since the last dragon we did for the Fellowship of the Gnome, and we're going to show him a little bit here, because I'm going to talk about how you can make this dragon different. The variations you can do on this. And it's going to be so fantastic. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's the same size piece as the last time. And again, this video is being recorded a day after last week's video, because I'm going to be, during this video, when this video is being played, I'm going to be out of town at the Renegade Woodcarvers Roundup. So if you're responding to this video, I'm at the Renegade right now. And if you're there too, you're probably seeing me today. It's good to see you. Happy to see you. Say hello. Let's talk. Let's hang out. Let's see each other. That's fantastic. I love that. That's why I'm going to meet people, right? And to wood carve and to have fun. So outside of that, let's jump right into this and we'll show you how it's done. We'll go ahead and turn the camera around and we'll jump right into this right now. These are the dragons that I've got finished up so far, and I think that they're looking just fantastic. I think they're really turning out great. And I want to point out that they're each a little bit different. Some folks have gotten really stuck on trying to make everything exactly the same. And so for each of these, I have done slight variations. For instance, take a look at the front here. The ridges in the scales, this one's got 3, this one's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this one's got 4, 5, this one's got 6. I think that they add a different effect, a different kind of age to the dragon. Some of them have larger eyes, medium-sized eyes, and very small eyes. The nose markings here are going more towards the back, and these ones are going more vertical. Just little differences like that. The height of the head, really thick head, slightly smaller head, really thick nose top there. Just changing little things, little variations can really affect the way the dragon looks. Now I've got these dragons here in the background because I also want to show you another difference I did, because I wanted these ones to look more serious, which is why we've gone for the lowerness right here. The jawline comes down and around to this frill here on the side of the dragon's face. And if you'll notice on this bigger dragon we did as part of the Fellowship of the Gnome, he doesn't have that frill and it goes up in the back. That kind of gives him like that puppy dog kind of Labrador Retriever goofy grin, which I kind of love. But I wanted to be more serious for the chess set. So we went with the frill and we're bringing that frown kind of down here, which makes him more serious, more stern. Go for whatever effect you want to. If you want to bring that up back to the ear thing, you absolutely can, or back to the horn there in the head. You can do that, eliminate the frill, and you'll have a smiley dragon for your chess set, just like this one is here. So keep that in mind and do with that as you will. So I'm going to push those back to the back. And that's what we're working on today. This will be the same size as our rook was. The same piece of wood here. It is 2.5 inches long, 1 inch by 1 inch. And our measurements are going to be pretty simple here. And I'm not going to go with many actual measurements. I'm going to go with ratios, because I want you all to be able to get behind why ratios are better, because with ratios, you can easily scale everything that you're doing from a 1x1 to a 2x2 or to a 1.5 inch block or whatever other type of block you want to try to carve on. And if you get a hold of it and start developing the skill to do that, you're able to transition and carve more variety with what you've got in different sizes much more easily. So first off, I'm drawing this hash on the top of the carving. I'm doing that only to make my next mark more easily accomplishable, because halfway between that middle point and here, I'm going to draw a line from front to back. And I'm going to keep this line parallel with that middle line. And in the middle of this section here, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, about halfway right there. That's about how much I want to take off of the left and right hand side, but I'm only going to do that for a certain direction. So I'm going to come down right here to about the midpoint of the carving, and then from there to about 2/3 of the way down, I'm going to swoop out like so. So to about the midway point, straight down on this side here, And once I get about to the midway point, I'm going to start to swoop down to about the 2/3 section around there. You see, now I have it perfect. Try to adjust it to make it relatively even. Okay, and we're going to be rounding this edge off a little bit down here afterwards, but this gets us a good start to get the thinness of the head that we want to start with. We're going to thin that out, and we'll leave the bottom of the block a little bit thicker. And you can see that it's not going to be too much thicker, and it's going to turn out pretty well. And they're each just a little bit different on the thickness here as we go through there. You know, they can be a little different. They can vary. And I think as a night goes, these are absolutely fantastic. They're the perfect choice for a night, at any rate. So those are all the measurements we're going to use to get started on this. So I'm going to start taking things off the right side and left side. So I'm going to start with the right side here, and I'm going to swoop in from this line and up as I carve wood out. Not anything complicated, just swooping in and out. You can see I'm starting a little bit higher so I can start to get some depth before I start coming back. And I'm just going to keep taking little slices off as I work that wood down and start to approach where I need to meet to that line. So I'm going to try to keep it even as I do this. Didn't talk about it, but I'm using my Beckwith Forge knife today. This is a great knife. It's a rough out knife. Has a nice blade to it. I really like it. It's a 1 3/4 inch blade. I've often used this knife. If you followed me on the channel much, you'll know that I use this knife often. It's one of my favorite knives. I'm trying to use different knives each time because I don't want people to get stuck on the fact that they can't do certain carvings with certain knives. I want to show you that you can do it with any knife that you have. Okay, so that's pretty good progress right there. You can see we got it mostly even right there, and we got that good section out right there to start to thin out the heads. We're going to do the same thing on the other side here, on the left side. So I'm going to start there and start swooping out, swooping in and up. And you can see that kind of curved nature that I'm going for, in and out. Not taking off a whole lot with each swoop. Just do more cuts rather than fewer so I can get it done without biting off too much. If I bite off too much, that's when things start ripping and tearing and start having problems that I'm trying to avoid. There's no reason to try to bite off more than I need to right off the bat. Okay, so we got that started, and that's looking pretty good. For the back here, we're going to take off a little bit of that hard edge right there. And now this is the back of the head. We're going to go ahead and start to cut in the horn area right here. So I'm going to go at about a 45-degree angle in, and you can see that's the angle I'm going to go for right here. I'm going to rock the knife back and forth as I push the blade in to get in some depth and make that a little bit straighter. And then I'm going to cut right up to it and clip it out. Go a little bit deeper and then clip that out. See right there? That's what we're going for. Now I'm going to do that over here too on this flat plane, like flat with the blade right there. I'm going to do on this plane, I'm going to come in again and just bring it in like so. Get on this plane over here, rock that in, and bring that up. And that helps us to start to free up that back section for the back of the head there. Just widen that right there. And try to get each side to about the same width, just round about. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be semi-close. So that's what we're working on. Now for the top of the head, here we're going to do some fancy work. We're going to start in the midsection, and I'm going to start to scoop wood out here. And I'm going to be swooping the blade. And I'm going to do it in a in and out swipe. Okay? And I'm just going to kind of elongate that. It's going to be easier to see as I do it. So I'm going to start in the midsection here and just start to swoop that out. I'm using a rough out knife. If I was using my Badger State detail blade, this would be easier for me. If you have a detail blade, it'll be easier to do because a detail blade is a little bit thinner. You can see I'm choking up pretty far on this rough out knife to do this, and I'm using just the tip here to round it down, and I'm keeping it angled from one side to the other. So it's rounding off, but I'm keeping a point in the middle as I'm coming in kind of like at a, what is that, a 20 or 30 degree angle right here as I come in and swoop in and out to make a little bit of a scoop there. And I'm being very careful here to do that because I don't want to have too much tearing in the front. So again, just gentle, nice and gentle. And you can work it back a little bit past that midsection on the back area there. And then I'm going to take the knife and take off these saw marks here in the front. I just got to barely remove the wood. Just remove those saw marks. And that's also going to clean up that top edge where we started to have some tearing along the front there. That's just fine. Okay. Now, right here in the front, about a 1/4 inch down, I'm just going to take off that corner. And that's going to be the tip of my nose for this guy. And it's looking pretty good so far. Now for the back of the head, we're going to go ahead and straight just carve all of this off. And just keep it on a flat plane and just carve off those saw marks, right like so. And then clean that little edge up if there's any tearing happening. Like that. And now we're going to V-cut out right here in the back corner here, right between where our horns are going to go. So I'm going to sink the knife in. Now be careful about going too deep. Do a small cut and then do a bigger one if necessary, so that you don't split the wood, because the width of the blade could wind up causing a split. Like that right there. That's not what I intended to do, but that kind of happened because I should have done a smaller cut. That's what I'm trying to teach you to avoid there. So undercut it to relieve it a bit. And then I'll recut that, and I'll cut this side off here to match the other side, and we'll have corrected it already. And then cut up underneath it to release that. Now you probably won't have to do all the cutting I just did here. I'm doing all this extra cutting here to correct the mistake I made. It should just be a simple V-cut. But once you get that done, you should look kind of like this, have that V-cut there. I'm going to take those corners off right like so on the underside side of this, and then undercut them like so. And now we've got some good corners here as well. Now we got some good horns on the back of this dragon's head. That's starting to look pretty good. You can also take off those hard corners on the inside here of that head. And that's looking fantastic. Okay, we're starting to get a little bit of a dragon shape there. And if I didn't mention it already, take a look at the overlay in the top left. This is the finished carving. It's the carving we're working on right now. That's this picture here. This picture here is of this carving completely finished. So it gives you a good indication or a good idea of what this is going to look like when it's done, because it's exactly what it looks like when this is done. So I'm going to take off these saw marks right through here. Flip it around, get the saw marks off the back. And I'm looking to just barely shave everything off. I don't want to accidentally leave any of these saw marks behind. These saw marks, they will take paint and stain differently than a cut section with a knife. So we don't want to have those on there as we go to finish the carving off. So all the saw marks are off on the back of the carving, except for the back of those ears, back of those horns here. A little bit right there, and a little bit right there. Okay. Now we're looking at putting in our neckline, and where we do our neckline is going to determine how tall our head is. So if I come down here, maybe an inch, maybe that's not an inch. All right, I'll use a measurement here to give you an idea of what I'm doing here. So that is about the top of the carving, 1.25 inches. So it is about an inch. So 1.25 inches from the very top of the head down to there is about 1.25 inches. And I come in right there, and I'm going to draw back here maybe 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to swoop that down and in to about, 2/3 of the way down the carving from that point there, 2/3 of the way down. So that's what we're looking to do. We're going to do a stop cut right here, and then we're going to cut up to it, and we're going to wrap that around the bottom of the head here. So starting with a rocking cut right here on that line, right there. I'm just going to rock that in left to right, and then I'm going to stop cut right up to it. Lots of little cuts. Little cuts keep you from splitting. More little cuts. And more little cuts. Like so. We've got a good start on that. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this plane to bring that head around a bit more. And you'll notice that I do it from down here at the bottom of this, up a little bit, then about 2/3 of the way, then 1/3 of the way, and then I cut it in. And I do that to create that plane where it starts to steepen the incline that comes up into the head, and the same way the other side, so we can start to bring that up. So I want to get a little bit more depth there. I'm going to do this again here from about the 1/3 mark, right? And now we're going to cut off like at a 45-degree angle the other side of the chin here. So I'm going to come in like this right here, like so, and bring that chin up and snap that out right there on that side. You can see how we did. Do the same thing on the other side here from that corner part of the chin, right so. And that helps to form a good chin for our dragon. Okay. Now, get all these shavings out of the way. Now, for the front of this carving, that's too much of a point. We want to round that off because we're going to put a reptilian kind of belly on him all the way up to the neck. So we're going to start to flatten and round the front of this off up under there, right here, right now. Okay, so we've rounded that underside off, and now I'm going to take those saw marks off the left and right side down here, and that should be the last of our saw marks. We shouldn't have any more left on the carving. And let's double check that. Do we get all the saw marks off? We have. We don't have any more saw marks left. We're doing good. Now, to counterweight this head, we need to bring this back in, have the head kind of coming back and up, which is how dragons look, at least in my mind, right? And we're doing research on what dragons should look like. We're going off of fantasy pictures on what everyone else has thought dragons looked like for centuries, right? So to show you on this guy here, and you can look at the overlay, obviously, for what we get done, we're just going to bring the back of that neck in and then back out. So that's what I'm going to do here. So about 2/3 of the way up, I'm going to put a cut in here at about that angle right there. Do the same thing on the other side, equal distance, and then I'm just going to widen it out a little bit and cut and counter cut, and that's about what we're looking for, right, like so. Now that's too pointy here in the back, so let's start to flatten that out, and that's looking a little bit better. Now let's put this angle here on it. Okay, so I'll come in a bit more of an angle here to start to round that around the side of the neck. Same thing here, flat with the knife on this plane here, and we're going to do the same thing, kind of come in to start to bring that plane around. We start to bring that around a little bit more. Okay, do the same thing again, but on this corner, just slightly off. Okay, and now these corners here in the bottom, those are too hard. We're going to take those corners off, take about a 1/4 inch off each side, including the back, and then this side as well, and the front side. We're going to go ahead and round that off as well. Now we're just looking to round it off just slightly, just to soften those hard lines through there. Just softening. Okay, and so now that piece is starting to look more like a knight, but we're not going to have a horse head. Of course, we're going to have a dragon's head. Now, these sections here are a little bit too hard there, so I'm going to bring those in from up top, like so, and the same thing here, like so. And you can see that more as you start to get to this point where you're like, oh, I can make this look a little bit better by doing this, Make adjustments as you feel you need to, as you're looking at it and seeing what all is happening, seeing how the carving looks live in your hands. It's different than what it might look like as I'm doing it, or as you're doing your piece. It can be different than my piece. No matter how we do things, following cut by cut doesn't always work. And so being able to look at something and judge accordingly is absolutely beneficial. Okay, so now we're going to do, let's see, where do we want to work next? Let's start working on setting in where our eyes are going to go. So we got a bit of a plane right here for the top of the head. Now we're going to work on setting in eyes. We're going to come in at more of an angle, which is going to be like this. And I'm going to start scooping out right through here as I round that out. Okay? And you can do it from either direction. You can do it from that direction I was just doing. You can come from this direction if you'd like to. And just start to round that out. You see how we're doing there? See how I'm getting that? The same thing over here. Start to round as you come forward, in, and round it out, like so. See? Take a look at both sides. Am I getting that pretty even? I'm going a little bit further down on the left side, so let's do the right side. Make it somewhat even, and that's looking pretty good. I like the way that's turning out. A little bit of a fluff getting left behind there. Okay. Now for our nose ridges, we're going to put those right here. We're going to put 2 of them. So we're going to do little V cuts right here, like so and so. Same thing on the other side. And you can make these as big as you want to, as little as you want to. If you make them bigger and define them more, he just looks more ferocious. We're going to put 1 ridge right there. And you can put 2 ridges there on the top of the head if you want to. Put a second one up there, put a third one up there, however you want to. Around that hard edge here, off a little bit. And now we're going to lengthen this V cut in here along the top. Okay? And then let's see if we can scoop out a bit at the top. Round that out just slightly from that ridge point. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm just rounding that just slightly between that ridge and like so, just to give him a bit of personality to that ridge on that middle section of his head. Take off those hard corners on the ears here, on the horns, whatever they want to be for you, ears or horns, and that's looking pretty good. Now, we need to set the eyes in, we need to set the mouth in. Before we do that, let's set in the frills, because the frills are going to travel between our from the corner of this ear or horn to the bottom of the jawline. And I like to put 3 in here, but you can put in more than 3 if you want to. And they don't have to be perfect. You're just looking to do 3 kind of triangle-like things, and that works right there. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side from here. Just go down to 1, 2, 3. You can just do 2 if you'd like to. Where's my eraser at? There it is. So if you just want to do 2 in this section here, you could just do 2. Let's see how that would look. Let's see how that would look. Let's go in and up, in and up. That looks like it looks bad right there with 2. These other guys we did 3. Let's go ahead and do 2 on this guy. And that way there's a little bit of variation between these because they're not all the same creature. They're not all the same dragon, right? They're different dragons. And there's nothing wrong with that. These are just bigger ones, see? So all these other guys, they got 3. This guy's going to have 2. And little variations like that is great. Those are great. That's just fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So I'm going to come straight in on these planes, and I'm just going to cut little marking cuts, kind of get a little depth in there on each of those lines from the tip with the bottom of the blade hitting that outer edge of the line, and I'm stopping right there where it stops in the point. And then same thing on the other side here. Now for this little section here, I'm just going to kind of carve up to like a stop cut. For inside of this V, I'm going to get that tip in right on the left side of that, and I'm just going to carve right up into there and pop it out. Now up here, I'm just going to be cutting like a stop cut right up to the corner, and then pop that out from behind the ear. And we just set that in just enough that you can see those pretty well right there, that frill. I like that. So the same thing over here. Stop cuts for each of those lines. Just marking them. Okay, and then we're going to carve up to that line and pop that out. Then we're going to carve into that V and pop that out, and carve into this section behind the head, and then pop that out from there. And clean that up a bit. There we go. Get our brush. There's a little bit more to clean up there. Hard to tell with the light sometimes. I need to adjust this light, don't I? There we go. Just a minute here. Clean that up. And that looks fantastic. Okay, so we're making good progress. Now, as we discussed earlier, the mouth is going to come from that corner here, come up, and then come around the front of the mouth to the front of the face, and then around the side over here, then back down. And if you have it come straight down, he looks a little bit more severe than he would if you have it coming back at a bit of an angle. I think I've got some examples here. So one's coming straight down, one's coming back, and you can see the variation. I think I like the a bit of an angle better than the straight down, but it's up to you what you want to do. Make each one a little bit different is what I say, and they really stand out more. So again, I'm just drawing with my knife now to sink that line in. And remember to be mindful of where your blade is at and where your fingers are at while you're doing this. Here, this maneuver here, I am moving the carving with my right hand, and my left hand, my right hand holding the knife is holding still, and my left hand holding the carving is doing the movement here as I do this. So I'm not in danger of slipping on the knife as much because the knife isn't moving. It's the carving that's moving, and I'm not moving it fast. I'm moving it slowly and deliberately to make this easier on myself and less likely to injure myself. And I'm going to be carving this bottom jaw off up to the mouth so that the top of the mouth overhangs the jaw. And I believe that provides the best look for a dragon, in my opinion. If you have the bottom lip over the top, he's going to be goofier. He's going to be more of a doofus. And if you're looking for a doofus dragon, that is just fine, you know. If you want to have more of a doofus, maybe put a tooth coming out from underneath the bottom lip to the top and having a tooth going upwards. He'll look more doofus-like as well. If you want to have him look more ferocious, maybe put some fangs under here coming down if you'd like to. I don't think I want to have fangs. So I'm not going to do fangs. But you absolutely can if you want to try. That's one of the options you got. You got so many options, though. You don't have to listen to me. You can make your own options up. Make up whatever options you want to. Make it your own. Okay? I really like the way that's turning out. He's turning out ferocious. That's fantastic. Okay, let's go ahead and round off that hard edge just a bit. Just a bit. That chin. And then that line as well. Just a bit. Yeah. All righty. Next, we've got to do our eyes. And our eyes are going to be very simple, okay? On that big round plane that we scooped out right here, we're just going to do a little triangle, okay? I'm going to draw it on here for you guys. I wouldn't draw it on myself, but all we're going to do is just a cut, and then we're going to cut up and under it. Same thing over here. We're going to do a little triangle. We're going to do a cut, and then up and under. Really easy to do. I'm just going to show you again. Tip of the knife is at the point right there at the top and going in until the bottom of the knife blade is right at the end of that cut, okay? Same thing over here, exact same way. Put it in. And now I'm going to go to the bottom left side of this triangle and I carve up and in until I stop the other side and then pop it out. And there's a little bit of fluff left in there, and just pop that out. And you recut something, just go ahead and recut it. And that looks pretty good for an eye, right? It's the same thing on the other side here. In like so. In like so. And then carving up and in to pop that out. And trim it up a little bit. And I think that looks like a great looking dragon. He's turning out fantastic. God, I'm having so much fun doing this tutorial series. This is so neat. I've been wanting to do a chess set for so long. Okay. I'm just trimming things up here a little bit. As you look at things, you may think, man, I could make this look a little bit better if I recut this or recut that. And take a minute every now and then to look at your carving and determine what you might want to recut, and then just go ahead and do it. You know, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And you should be doing it on all of these. Now, we're going to do that reptilian style belly ridges. I don't know what they're called. But we're going to start here at the bottom right corner of the chin, bottom left corner of the chin, and we're just going to draw in a little bit, and we're going to swoop out again as we get closer to the bottom. Okay, we're going to start it, swoop in, and then back out. So it gets thinner towards the middle, a little bit wider at the tops as we meet the bottoms of the chin, and a little bit wider at the bottom. And you can see what we're going for right there. Okay, and now I'm going to use this knife again to draw on the carving. The knife is staying still, the carving is moving, and I'm just drawing this line as I move the carving, like so. Do the same thing to the other side here. The knife is staying still. Left hand is moving the carving, drawing right down to it. Now I'm going to start in the middle, and I'm just going to barely take out a little bit to relieve that line and show it off to us. Same thing in this direction, using my left thumb to pull the knife towards me. Try to barely take anything off, nice and gentle, nice and easy, right like so. And now you could be done, but I want to make this line look a little bit better. So I'm going to go through here and just barely take off that hard edge. Just round it off like so, which will make it look a little bit more presentable, a little bit prettier. All right, over here, same thing. Start from the midway point and carve that line up and out. Then slip out. Try to get underneath it and pry it out if you need to. Now I'm doing a paring cut right here. Carving toward myself. Same thing, just barely doing it, barely pulling, barely moving. Pull that out. And now I do the same thing in relief. That line from one side. Using my thumb to guide that knife. There we go. And now we have got that cleaned up pretty well. He's really making good progress. So on this, as I discussed in the beginning, you can do as many ridges as you want to. I've got some over there with 5, 6, 4, whatever. I'm just doing random lines, starting a little bit higher on the outside, coming down and in, a little bit up. So a little bit of a half moon or a half circle kind of thing, you know. And just make sure that how many lines you do, that they're about equidistance apart. So that distance from the top, again, and then again, and maybe this one's only going to get 4. I think that's going to look pretty good if we do that. Let's do that. Let's just do 4 on this guy, which is just the 3 lines. So again, I'm just going to carve that line in, following it around. Carve that line in, following it around. And move my fingers. Carve this line in, following it around. And now I'm going to carve up to that line so that each ridge sits on top of the one below it. So I'm going to carve right up to here, right up to there, right up to there. And take that a little bit out right there too. And that's looking pretty good. Let's finish that right. Okay. This one here as well. If you need a stop cut to pop it out. Just be gentle. Recut as necessary for every one of these. I talked a lot about recutting in the last episode when we were doing the rook. I really believe that. Right? Carving isn't just carving, it's recarving. Redoing sections. Just like writers rewrite, carvers recarve. If you're doing it perfect the first time, well, thank you very much, Mr. Perfectionist. I am not that good. Someday I hope to be there, but I think that even great carvers are recutting. I watch videos of people who are fantastic at what they do, really, truly stellar. And I see them doing carving tutorials, and then I see them carve something and then recut it to fix it. Even truly great carvers do that. And so if anyone says that they don't, I am hesitant to believe that. I haven't heard anyone say they don't, but if they did, I'd be hesitant to believe that. So if you think, man, I recut a lot, Johnny, well, I don't think that you're in bad company. I think that we're all doing it. It's just easy when you're new to not think, or to think that everyone isn't doing what you're doing, to think that you're the only one that's doing things the hard way or doing things a different way. Okay. I really like the way this is turning out. I think it's going to be fantastic. Okay. And there we go. I think that, I think we got them done. This is not a complicated carving for this one here. The rook was harder to do. There was more work on the rook than there was here on this little dragon. But I think he's going to turn out fantastic. I am still going to take him, even though there's not a whole lot of work here, not a whole lot to have messed up on. There's still some little pencil marks there. When I take him over and wash him up, those pencil marks will be gone. So you could try to carve them off, or you can just take him over and wash him up. So I'm just going to go wash him up, and I'll be back here in 3, 2, 1, and there we go. He's all washed up. There is our knight piece, our dragon. I really like the way these guys turned out. Oh, I think that nose is a little bit too pointed. We're just going to go ahead and take care of that a little bit right there. Okay, there we go. So we already washed him up, but then we can just do a little trim. You can see those pencil marks came off when we washed him up, and he looks buttery smooth now. Absolutely fantastic. So that is our knight that can go with the rest of our chess set, and he's turning out absolutely wonderful. We're really making progress on this. We're going to have it done. And that's all I have for you folks. I think that it turned out absolutely fantastic. Our little dragons are going to be wonderful for our chess set, and you can see them here set up with the whole thing. We've got dragons, we have got knights and castles, and roar, destroy, roar. Look at that. Isn't that how cool is that? How cool is that? They are so neat. It is epic. It is absolutely epic. I love the way the set is turning out. I'm so excited. I've got ideas left for the bishop, for the queen, for the king. I'm so excited to get them done. And then, and then we'll see where we go from there. But as of right now, having a blast still. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for watching the end of the video. Head over to Instagram or Facebook. Give me a follow over there. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. And watch one of the videos that get pop up on the channel here in a minute. If you like this kind of shirt that I'm wearing, head over to the website and get one just like it. It says Strop Yet, right? Because you got to remember to strop. You got to remember to keep your tools sharp and keep them in shape for your carving. At any rate, I appreciate your time, folks. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you next time. Bye.